question, you'll begin. The next question, you'll begin. So that each of you start first from a different perspective. The gentleman on the right, yes, Larry Mrzinski. Okay, questions? Yes.
I've got two questions for each of the candidates up here. Very simple question, yes or no. Starting with Mr. Barr. Have you read John Linder and Neil Bort's book on fair tax? Their first book and their second book, or the other, yes or no?
I read the first one, not the second one. No. Yes. First one.
All right. Another question, yes, right here.
Good question.
A week ago Friday, President Obama put out an executive order about climate change. And I want to know, will you each individually champion shutting that thing down, period?
One of the real problems that we've seen...
Hold on. Alan starts to answer the second question. Sorry about that, Paul. Yep. You go first on this stuff.
I'm always suspicious when government officials, in this instance President Obama, makes broad statements that he cannot enforce. His observations or his executive order needs to be analyzed, which I haven't done at this point. And if I disagree with it, which I probably will because I'm suspicious about what is being said about climate change, then I will fight it as well as other executive orders.
Direct answer. The answer is yes. And, but this is a symptom, not just the disease. The symptom is an insidious nature of our executive to encroach upon the province of the legislative branch. We see it with what he's trying to do with executive orders when it comes to climate control. We've seen it when it comes to executive orders when it comes to immigration. We've seen it when it comes to executive orders regarding Obamacare. It goes on and on. Quite frankly, it also existed under previous Republican administrations as well. We've got to take back the legislative duties and put them back squarely in Congress where the Constitution requires them to be. So the answer is clearly yes.
Well, Mr. Staver, the absolutely answer is no. The behavioral insight team that we know that Mr. Obama, as a president, allowed for an agency, this is another symptom of trying to convince people that red is orange and blue is green. There's no way that this is going to pass under Congressman Rosinski inside. We already know that climate change has been proven a fallacy. We have to have something, as Dingell says, to control the people. And I think that we all know in this room, as intelligent thinkers, that in fact that climate change is a ruse, and what it's about is controlling populations, it's controlling about regions, and it's making sure that everyone on their game has an even playing field. And he promised, yes, I will transform America. And I think that's exactly what climate change is. It's a ruse.
Okay, would you like the question asked again for you?
Yeah, because I want to make sure you understand. I'm going to reverse what Obama did.
Over the course of our nation's history, and we've had 44 presidents, there have been over 13,000 executive orders issued. Only two, count them, only two out of those more than 13,000 have been found to be unconstitutional. Yet probably half of them actually, in fact, are an unconstitutional usurpation of power by the executive branch. Now, Congress, of course, doesn't pass or vote on executive orders, but Congress has a responsibility that they have not upheld year after year after year to challenge executive orders by passing legislation that overrides them and by passing legislation that defunds them. And that's what we need to do with that one, Jack, and a number of others as well.
Thank you. Okay, we have another question. Kelly, go ahead.
If you can, in one sentence, gentlemen, answer the question, what is the role of the Department of Education?
It's unconstitutional. Short sentence.
Well, Kelly, as we know, if you go online to the Department of Education, they say they collect data, statistics, and they use it to put out to the states where they will, where states set the standards. And that is exactly what's on the Department of Education's website. They collect data. They don't mandate. They don't take something from the Department of Education and take what we call mandates and put them right down to the state and then have communities believe through the state that this is what we have to do for our children. So the Department of the State, that's what you're a politician, you probably had better to say than that, didn't you? All right, so that's exactly what we need to consider. Good, good.
Nada, zero, zip, nothing. Get rid of it.
I agree. The purpose of government in Washington is being employed and being very well paid. So these people who work for these never-ending agencies, their sole purpose is to have a good, very good, steady income at the public's expense. And I disagree. Government needs to get much smaller.
Okay, another question, Vince, raise your hand up.
Yeah, I was just wondering, you go to Congress, and how would you actually align yourself? I mean, we have this problem now with the establishment Republicans. They seem to be anti-Tea Party, and our Tea Party type representatives, there seems to be this rift, so maybe you'd like to comment about that.
Well, I tell you, taxing up already, that's the proper and respectful way to talk about the Tea Party. And I think that movement has been very successful, and I participated in several of the states to front what I believe is truly Americana, is that we need to front a tax reductions and look at the Constitution of the United States. You know, in Congress what we have is go along to get along, and that's why I proposed either self or legislate for term limits. I believe that we need to take a look at who's in Congress and say that no, this is not what we're going to do with conservative values. Ladies and gentlemen, how many go ahead and read the platform? The platform is very clear about tax reduction and personal issues.
But when push comes to shove, are you willing to stand?
Absolutely, and I think it's very clear. Absolutely, sir. And I will tell you right now that I will lead from the front. I don't have any baggage. I don't have anybody standing behind me for lobbyists, and that's the problem, the money interests. Money interests are driving our Congress every 2 years. I will not succumb to that, and I will lead. And that's what my fingerprints are as far as politics.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Early on, I learned when I was in the Congress previously, you have a choice to make. You either choose to work to move forward within the bureaucracy of your party's leadership, or you choose to move ahead by listening to and voting on substance for your constituents. And those are two very different tracks. I chose the latter, didn't always endear myself to the leadership of my party. But similarly to when I served as your United States Attorney, if I had, as I did, unfortunately, a Republican sitting member of Congress who lied and perjured himself, he was prosecuted the same as a Democrat would be. I believe in the rule of law. The rule of law is not found in a party platform. It's found in the Constitution of the United States of America. That's what we follow.
What's vital is to form a caucus, a group of people similar to the Tea Party, and including, in this instance, Tea Party members in Washington, who will get together and block spendthrift legislation. It's the spending of vast amounts of money that is damaging our country. We cannot continue to do that. One of my platform measures is that after 8 years for the House of Representatives and 12 for the Senate, if the sitting congressman or woman doesn't quit, then they lose their pensions. I know that one of the tenets of the Tea Party is you want to turn over the politicians and remove them from office. That is the best way to do it. Term limits won't work because that requires a constitutional amendment. But if you cut away the pension, if they don't quit after these periods, then they'll quit in droves. We have too many people there for too long.
I've learned that there are two different philosophies, broadly speaking, when it comes to politics. One is the politics of division and subtraction. When you constantly are taking your group that you are working with and you're constantly dividing it up into smaller and smaller pieces. The other philosophy is one of addition and multiplication. We can no more divide the Tea Party from our business community and the Republican Party, our libertarians from our social conservatives. then we can cut my right hand off in order to advance my left hand. We need all of those elements in the Republican Party to be able to return us to a majority status. That's what Ronald Reagan taught us. Ronald Reagan taught us that we've got to come together, we've got to find common ground. I hate anyone, and I'll stand up for anyone or I'll stand up against anyone that attacks the Tea Party, as I have done in the past. And I will work with each and every one of you, but I'll do it by addition and multiplication. Thank you.
Okay, we have another question. Go ahead, Scott.
I genuinely believe the Republican Party is a party of ideas. And as such, I'm interested to find out what is your best new idea that you'll take to Washington, D.C.?
Well, the best new idea I have is to go up there and do exactly what I did before. It worked before. We balanced the budget when I was up there. We cut taxes when I was up there. We impeached a bad president when I was up there. We reformed welfare when I was up there. We protected the Second Amendment when I was up there. We stopped NSA from spying when I was up there. Those are the things, unfortunately, that keep coming back over and over and over again, and you have to use the same tools, the same experience, the same backbone to fight them year after year after year. The problems aren't new, and it just takes a lot of hard work, perseverance, understanding the Constitution, and always standing on the Constitution. That may be a revolutionary concept, but I've done it before and I'll do it again.
The one best idea I have, other than the how to help the Congress people leave office by getting rid of their pensions if they don't quit, is to reduce corporate income taxes to zero. We don't raise much money through the corporate tax system, but companies spend fortunes avoiding paying corporate taxes. They leave their money overseas, and when they do that, they're not creating jobs in America. Apple Computer has over $100 billion held overseas that it will not bring back, because as soon as the money transfers into this country, they'll owe a great deal of taxes, so they should leave the money overseas. Bring the money, if we reduce corporate taxes to zero, we'll become a tax haven like other countries that attract foreign investors, and we will be the world's largest tax haven. It will create huge numbers of jobs.
Well, I'm going to do things. Number one, I want to return a work ethic where folks actually walk into a room and spend more time trying to reach solutions rather than simply just come up with problems. Regarding specific legislation, I believe in what's called the 1% solution, which basically will require us to go in and cut the size of the budget by 1% a year. Not cut the rate of increase by 1% a year, which is what they call now at the federal level. They call cuts simply reducing increases. We actually have to reduce the size of government by 1% a year. If we do that in less than 10 years, we can then balance the budget. And once we have that momentum behind us, we'll be able to finally pass a constitutional amendment which will put the necessary restraints on an ever-growing federal government, which is a danger to our personal individual liberties. So that 1%, reducing the actual size of government by 1% a year, is something we desperately need to bring discipline to our budgetary process.
Well, the question is about best new idea, not leadership of what we already have in Congress. I believe the best new idea is to return America back to not make sure it's a career. The best new idea may not be an issue, but why are we have retirements? Abolish retirements, put it back onto the people. It's selfless service. This is not a career. We have a certification. So we say best new ideas. We already have platforms. We already have solutions to those ideas. We need to return to the Constitution to where we serve the people. I think that's an idea that needs to do. And second, on that, Representative Turner, we need some sunshine laws. We need them in the state. And if you violate and cost the state or this country, you are not protected under those sunshine laws. Only the victims. We need to have change. You go to represent us, it's an open book on transparency. And that's a new idea for Congress.
We've got time for 2 more questions. Sorry, Colleen, DA, and then Bob. And I'm going to ask you to try to stay at 30 seconds. Okay? Go ahead, DA.
Thank you. Republican candidates for Congress, please, as quickly as you can, have any of you ever deserted the Republican Party and joined the Libertarian Party with the most liberal immigration platform in the country and run for office under that banner?
I mean, I don't know, DA, what you're trying to prove by that, but, no, I've never deserted the Republican Party. Now, I ran as a libertarian very proudly in 2008 because the Republican Party, some people in the Republican Party, including the President and the former Attorney General, deserted the Constitution of the United States of America. That may not bother you, but it does bother me when public officials do that. And what I tried to do, in my position on this, and you've lied about this before, DA, I've never been in favor of open borders. What I have always said is we welcome immigrants. I welcome immigrants into this country so long as they come in lawfully at ports of entry, so long as they subject themselves to a background check to ensure that they pose no terrorist threat and have no criminal record, and to ensure that they do not have a communicable disease. Once they enter, they need to register and stay only according to the terms of their work permit or their visa. I do believe that our work permit and visa system needs to be dramatically reformed and modernized to meet the work requirements and the education requirements of today's world, not the 1980s. That's what I have always believed in.
For the record, I'm not a liar, and we'll get back to that.
I suspect we will.
I have always been a Republican, but I do have a secret, which I reveal today. Now, 5 years ago, I have many secrets. All of them are on my website, so if you want to go there, you can Google them. But 5 years ago, I went to some of the Democrat breakfasts on Saturday mornings. I went to 3 to see what they were up to. And I could not believe what I heard. I was just disgusted. So that's my secret. I actually went to some Democrat meetings.
Did you give them money or did you get
I did not give them money.
Let me answer it this way. Over the last 12 years, 2002, I was working to try to bring the first Republican governor into the state of Georgia and working to boot out a Democratic senator. 2004, I was part of the wave that brought, for the first time since Reconstruction, Republicans into the General Assembly and into the governor's office, all underneath one party. Since that time, I've spent 10 years working diligently within the Republican Party to show how Republicans can lead, how Republicans can govern through conservative reforms. I've done it, and that's how I've chosen to turn the corner in terms of the Republican Party, and that is within the party.
Well, since I was in the military and when I voted always Republican. And I do have an RNC card, which I'm a charter member. And I have been a charter member since 2004, so I got my card carrying. I've been the Veterans Outreach Chair for the state of Georgia. I was also one of 6 delegates to our convention, staunch Republican, and I think my writing says that. And I will tell you that the Republican Party principles, I know the 2008 platform, and I know 2012 very, very well. And ladies and gentlemen, as the only one in here, my colors of my campaign are red.
What issue or problem do you yourself consider to be the most important, and what issue would you be willing to be a leader of to get resolved?
To me?
You got the money. I'm a politician, I'll take it.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
Reduce the size of the federal government. The size of the federal government is the greatest threat to personal liberty in our country today. If we really want to take back this country, if we really want to reemphasize the importance and the sanctity of the individual in our society, we will reduce the size of the federal government. So reducing the debt, which leads to a reduction in the federal government, is my #1 priority. Thank you very much. And thank you all for having me. That's you.
always giving back to my colleagues. Reduce the size of the government. Put integrity back. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't need to be lied to by our own representatives. And that is exactly what I bring as far as character. That is at the essence of this. You can have all the words up here that you want, but you have to believe and trust again. Have no fear. Let's believe in America once again, and not in the money. Let's take it back. America, our government, we can do it. Let's start with the 11th District. Let's start with leadership. And let's start with confidence in what we do. Ladies and gentlemen, don't keep everything in our politicians in the basement. Let's bring it upstairs. Let's open the door. Let's take the windows and open up. Freshness is about to return. Have faith. We're going to take it back.
When you run for office, you get an education. And I would urge you all to run for political offices sometime in the future, and preferably not in this district, though, especially on this cycle. But what I would like to do is find out where the problems are. One of the big problems with running for office is raising money, which is very easy once you're elected and very difficult if you're not. And once you've raised the money, you get to keep it. That is a major problem in the election system. So I would put forth a bill so that after each election cycle, any campaign funds left over have to be donated to charity. So everybody starts off at an even on an even playing field at zero.
In whatever arena government operates, what we need to do is we need to reduce the cost, the size, the scope, and the power of the federal government. I don't care whether it's NSA spying against the Constitution in violation of our laws on law-abiding American citizens. It doesn't matter to me whether it is a president who refuses, and I suspect the DA and I agree on this, refuses to enforce the laws on the books against illegal immigration and against deportation, whether it is a president who refuses to enforce the provisions of a health care law that he himself championed. What we have is no respect for the laws by the very people who are passing those laws and who are tasked by the Constitution with seeing that the laws be faithfully executed. We need to get rid of some of these people, and that includes this president.